For as long as Captain Mara could remember, Earth had been a quiet but steady part of the galactic empire. It was never the most important world in trade, never the largest in size. But it had a reputation. Humans were different. They were not the oldest race in the stars. But there was something about them that made other species speak in careful tones. Whenever the name Earth was mentioned in the Empire's long history, Earth had sent explorers, traders, and diplomats to other worlds, but they always kept a certain distance. They were friendly, yet private. They shared technology, but never their most advanced creations. Some called it wisdom. Others called it secrecy. Mara had never been to Earth, though she had seen the great blue planet from orbit during a training mission years ago. It looked peaceful then, covered with oceans and green lands, the large golden gates that floated in space above the planet's atmosphere were a sight known across the galaxy. They were not physical gates, but enormous energy portals that allowed ships to enter and leave Earth's skies. No one alive in the Empire truly knew how the gates had been built. They were there before the Empire's expansion reached the Sol system. The Empire had claimed they belonged to the humans, and the humans never denied it. Mara's current mission was simple, or so it seemed. She had been ordered to escort the Empire's senior ambassador to Earth for an important trade agreement. It was a ceremonial visit, one that should have been easy. But as their ship, the Silver Wing, approached Earth's space, something unexpected happened. "Captain," said her first officer, Terran, "the gates, they're closing." Mara frowned. "Closing? That's not possible. They haven't closed in over 100 years. Terran's voice was tense. "Ma'am, I'm reading an energy surge from the gate structures. The portal fields are collapsing. No ships are getting through." The view screen lit up with the sight of the massive golden arcs dimming one by one. Normally, the portals shimmered with a soft light, showing the swirling pattern of the energy field that allowed ships to pass safely. Now, that glow was fading, replaced by a flat black emptiness. "Open a channel to Earth's orbital control," Mara ordered. Her communication officer tried. "No response, Captain. No signal. It's like they're ignoring us or they've shut down all channels." The ambassador stepped forward. He was a tall, thin man named Relin, known for his smooth words and calm manner. His voice was no longer calm. "Captain, this is unacceptable. The Empire has treaties with Earth. They cannot simply close their gates without warning. Demand they open them at once." "I'm trying," Mara said, her voice firm. "But they aren't listening." Other ships in the area began to notice the change. A small fleet of merchant vessels that had been waiting to enter Earth's orbit turned away, confused and frightened. Private shuttles stopped mid-course, sending frantic signals to one another. Even military patrol ships kept their distance. Within minutes, the gates were completely dark. The once glowing arcs floated silently above the planet, their golden frames cold and lifeless. It was as if someone had locked a door on the entire world. The crew of the Silver Wing stared at the view screen in disbelief. Earth's surface looked the same: calm oceans, green continents, white clouds drifting slowly, but the message was clear. No one was coming in. No one was going out. "Captain," Terran said quietly, "what could make them do this?" Mara shook her head. "I don't know. But whatever it is, it's not something small. Earth doesn't act without a reason." The ambassador was pacing. "We must inform the Council immediately. This could be the beginning of a political crisis. If Earth cuts itself off, trade routes will suffer. Our fleets will lose access to human-made supplies." Mara didn't answer. She was thinking about something else. She remembered stories from her academy days, old stories whispered between students about the last time humans had withdrawn from the galaxy. No one knew the full details, but the story went that centuries ago, before the Empire's rise, humans had fought a war so sudden and so decisive that it ended before most worlds even knew it had begun. Entire enemy fleets vanished without a trace, and afterward, humans simply left. They had returned decades later, quiet and unchanged, as if nothing had happened. "Captain," the communication officer interrupted her thoughts. "I am detecting something unusual. There's a signal, but it's not coming from Earth directly. It's faint, like it's hidden in the background noise. Put it on audio, Mara said. The bridge filled with a strange, broken sound. At first, it was only static, but then words, human words, old, slow. And in a language Mara couldn't identify, the voice sounded calm, almost like it was speaking to itself rather than to anyone listening. Then the message repeated, looping over and over. What is that? Taryn asked. Something old. Mara murmured, something they want us to hear, or something they can't stop from escaping. The ambassador frowned. Captain, this is pointless. I will report to the council and request reinforcements. We must get through those gates. Mara glanced at him, but said nothing. She didn't like the way the signal made her feel. There was a weight to it, as if it carried more than just words, something hidden, something deep. Hours passed, and still the gates remained closed. No more ships approached. The Silver Wing stayed in silent orbit, watching Earth like a distant island in a vast sea. From time to time, Mara thought she saw movement in the space near the planet of faint shadow, like a ship flickering in and out of view, but the sensors found nothing. At last, the ambassador left the bridge in frustration. Mara remained in her chair, eyes fixed on the silent gates. Taryn, she said softly, send a full report to command. But add this, do not attempt to force the gates open. If Earth wants to be left alone, we should listen. Taryn hesitated. Do you really think they're closing themselves off just because they feel like it? Mara shook her head. No. I think they're doing it because something is coming, and they don't want us to be in the way. Below them, the planet turned slowly, its surface glowing with the light of the sun. It was beautiful, peaceful. But Mara could not shake the feeling that behind that peaceful face, Earth was preparing for something the rest of the galaxy was not ready to face. Far from the Silver Wing, beyond the edge of the system, the faint human signal kept repeating in the darkness of space. The gates above Earth had been dark for 2 full days, and the Silver Wing was still holding position in silent orbit. The crew spoke in low voices now, as if raising their tone might disturb the strange stillness that surrounded the planet. Captain Mara had not left the bridge for long. Every time she tried, something pulled her back, a need to watch, to listen. The faint human signal they had discovered was still there, repeating like a slow heartbeat in the background of space. It was not just the crew of the Silver Wing who noticed the change. Across the Sol system, other ships had arrived to see for themselves. Traders, scientists, even small patrol craft all stopped at a safe distance, unwilling to move closer. No one dared to test the gates, as if some unspoken warning kept them back. On the second morning, Taryn brought her a new report. Captain, the signal is shifting. The words are the same, but the tone is changing, almost like it's reacting to something. Mara leaned forward. Let's hear it. The bridge speakers filled with the strange voice again. It was calm, slow, almost peaceful, but now there was a new sound beneath it, like the low hum of machinery. The hum rose and fell, not in a pattern the crew could understand, but with a rhythm that felt alive. The communications officer frowned. Captain, this is not coming from any standard transmitter. It's almost like it's coming from the space around Earth, not the planet itself. The source is everywhere and nowhere. Mara did not like that answer. Could this be some kind of defensive system? Taryn hesitated. Maybe, or maybe it's something older. Something the humans never told anyone about. That thought stayed with her. The Empire had always been curious about Earth's true history, but humans had a way of avoiding direct answers. They gave what they wanted to give, and nothing more. Late that day, an Empire science vessel named Glass Horizon approached the Silver Wing. Its commander, a careful and quiet woman named Lyra, requested a private meeting with Mara. They met in the Silver Wing's small conference room. Lyra wasted no time. Captain, my sensors have detected something unusual. There are faint energy spikes appearing in open space just beyond the Sol system. They're not natural. They look like movement, massive movement on a scale I've never seen before. Mara frowned. Are they ships? I can't say, Lyra admitted. The readings are strange. They're not moving like fleets. It's more like they're ripples traveling through space itself. Ripples, yes, and each time they pass, the signal from Earth changes slightly, as if it's answering them. Mara leaned back in her chair. You think the signal is a reply to whatever is causing the ripples? Lyra nodded. Exactly. And if I'm right, it means Earth knows what's out there. They closed their gates before the first ripple even reached the system. Mara did not answer right away. She thought about the timing. The gates had closed suddenly, without warning, yet perfectly in time with something no one else had noticed. That did not feel like coincidence. That night, as the silver wing drifted silently near the edge of Earth's closed space, Mara stood alone in the observation deck. The blue planet hung in the distance, calm under the soft light of its sun. She remembered her training days again. The whispered stories about the last time humans had withdrawn. If those stories were true, this was not the first time Earth had hidden behind its gates. And if history was repeating itself, it meant the galaxy was about to face something it had not seen for hundreds of years. The next morning brought more tension. The ambassador, Relin, returned to the bridge with new orders from the Empire's Council. Captain, the Council demands that we test the gates. We are to send a probe through immediately. If the probe makes it, we will follow with a small shuttle. Mara stared at him. Sir, with respect. That is a mistake. If the humans closed their gates, they had a reason. We should not force our way in. The ambassador's tone was sharp. Your orders are not up for debate. She did not like it, but she had no choice. The engineering team prepared a small unmanned probe, loading it with sensors and cameras. The launch bay doors opened, and the probe drifted out into space toward the largest gate dot at first. Nothing happened. The gate remained dark and silent. Then, just as the probe reached the outer edge of the golden frame, there was a flash. The entire structure lit up for a single heartbeat bright, white light that seemed to cut through the darkness of space. When the light faded, the probe was gone. No signal, no debris, nothing. The ambassador went pale. What happened? Terran checked the readings. It wasn't destroyed, at least, not in the way we understand. Its signal didn't cut off, it stretched, like it was pulled apart into something else. Mara's voice was quiet. The gate rejected it. They stayed silent for a long moment. Then the human signal returned on the speakers, louder than before. The same words repeated over and over, but the calmness was gone. Now, the voice sounded firm, almost commanding. The hum beneath it had grown stronger, sharper, like the sound of a blade being drawn. At night, more ripples passed through space beyond the Sol system. This time, Mara saw them with her own eyes. The stars seemed to bend for an instant, as if invisible waves were rolling through them. Whatever was coming, it was getting closer. And Earth knew it. The ambassador still wanted to contact the Council. But Mara had already made up her mind. She was going to stay. She needed to see this through, no matter what the Empire ordered. On the far edge of the system, the glass horizon sent a final report before retreating to a safer distance. It read only one line. The ripples are not natural. They are footsteps. Mara read it twice, then looked out at Earth again. Somewhere behind those silent gates, the humans were preparing. And when they finally opened them, the galaxy would not be the same. The Silver Wing was not the only ship keeping watch near Earth anymore. Over the past 3 days, more Empire vessels had arrived, each holding position at a respectful distance from the silent gates. They came with questions, with orders, and, with growing fear. News of Earth's sudden isolation had spread quickly. Every major world in the Empire wanted answers. Trade fleets were stranded. Diplomats were locked out. Even scientific missions to the Sol system were forced to turn back. In the capital city on Sroth Prime, the Emperor's Council gathered in the Great Chamber. The room was filled with sharp voices and restless movement. Some council members wore the long robes of political office, others the dark uniforms of the military. The air itself seemed tense, as if the walls were holding in a storm. High Counselor Veras spoke first. Earth has no right to cut itself off from the Empire. This is a direct violation of our treaties. We must take action before the other member worlds believe they can do the same. Another counselor, a cautious man named Halvik, shook his head. action may lead to disaster. Do you forget the records? Do you forget what humans are capable of when they feel threatened? Vera slammed a hand on the table. Old stories. Nothing more. The humans are a small, isolated species. Their ships are slower than ours. Their military is barely visible in our records. Havoc's voice was calm but firm. Perhaps that is because they want it that way. I have seen classified files fleets that appeared and disappeared without warning. Enemies of Earth simply stopped existing, and the humans never explained why. The Emperor himself, an older figure draped in golden armor, finally raised his voice. Enough. The truth is simple. We do not know why they have done this, but we will find out. He turned to the military commander. Prepare a small task force. Do not attack, but be ready to move. If they will not answer, we will step inside their walls. Back near Earth, Captain Mara received her latest orders. They were short and cold. Hold position until the arrival of the task force. Do not engage. Unless provoked. Mara read them twice and felt a heavy weight settle in her chest. She could already see the end of this path. The Empire would not wait forever. They would force the gates, and when they did, something would happen. Something they might regret. Her crew felt the same unease. The faint human signal still played in the background, and now the tone had changed again. It was sharper, the rhythm faster, as if time itself were running out. That evening, Terran approached her at the observation deck. The two of them stood, side by side, looking out at the distant planet. Captain, he said quietly, I've been thinking. What if the gates aren't to keep us out? What if they're to keep something else in? Mara turned her head slightly. You mean Earth is hiding something dangerous? Terran nodded. Maybe not dangerous to them, but dangerous to us. Think about the timing. The gates closed before the first ripples reached the system. That's not panic. That's planning. Before Mara could answer, the ship's sensors picked up movement. A small freighter was approaching the gates, broadcasting a desperate signal. Its captain, a short, tired-looking trader, was pleading to be allowed through. Please, the voice crackled over the comm. I have family on Earth. Let me in. I'll follow whatever rules they want. Just let me through. The gates remained dark. The freighter drifted closer until it reached the edge of the golden arcs. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the same flash of white light appeared, just as it had with the probe. When the light faded, the freighter was gone. The Silver Wings bridge fell silent. The communications officer swallowed hard. No signal. No debris. Same as before. Mara looked at the empty space where the ship had been. The gate took it, just like the probe. By the next morning, the first ships of the Empire's task force had arrived. Sleek destroyers and heavy cruisers moved into position, forming a circle round the silent world. Their hulls gleamed in the sunlight, weapons offline, but ready. The commander of the task force, Admiral Wren, contacted Mara directly. His voice was smooth, but there was steel beneath it. Captain, you will maintain your position and relay all sensor data to my flagship. We will handle negotiations from here. Mara nodded, but deep down she doubted there would be any negotiations at all. That night, a strange event shook every ship in orbit. Without warning, the human signal cut off completely. In its place came silence, total and absolute. Even the background hum of space seemed to vanish for a heartbeat. Then, a new sound emerged. It was not a voice, but a deep, steady pulse. Each beat seemed to echo through the hull of the Silver Wing, as if the sound was not just heard but felt. Terran looked uneasy. Captain, that's not coming from Earth. It's coming from the edges of the system. Mara's mind raced. The ripples, they were getting closer. On the far side of the Sol system, faint distortions appeared in space. At first, they looked like heat waves, but they moved with purpose, bending the light of distant stars. The task force's sensors struggled to get a clear reading. Admiral Wren's voice came over the open channel. All ships, remain on alert. Unknown objects approaching. This could be our first contact with whatever Earth is hiding from us. But Mara had another thought, one she didn't speak aloud. This was not first contact. This was something older, something the humans had seen before. And that meant they were the only ones who knew what was coming next. As the distortions grew closer, the gates above Earth flickered once just for a second as if testing their own strength. The stars around the system seemed to hold their breath. The distortions at the edge of the Sol system grew stronger with every passing hour. They were no longer faint ripples. Now, they looked like shimmering shapes in space, tall and wide, moving with slow, deliberate steps. From the bridge of the Silver Wing, Captain Mara watched the strange readings scroll across her sensor screens. None of it made sense. The objects were hugely larger than most Empire battleships, but their structure was impossible to define. It was as if they were made from something that was not fully solid. Admiral Wren's voice filled the open channel again. All ships, hold position. Weapons ready, but not armed. We still do not know what we are dealing with. Mara could hear the tension in his voice. Even though he tried to hide it, the entire task force was on edge. The silent gates above Earth loomed in the distance, watching without movement. Then, without warning, the Silver Wing's proximity alarms went off. A small vessel had appeared right outside their port view, so close it startled the crew. No jump signature, no warp trail. One moment the space was empty, the next moment the ship was there. It was unlike any Empire craft Mara had ever seen, sleek, silver, and narrow, with no visible engines. It looked older than any current design, yet flawless in condition. A single voice came over the comm system, clear and calm. Silver Wing, request permission to dock. Mara exchanged a glance with Terran. Who are you? She asked into the comm. The voice answered, a friend and a messenger. The docking procedure was almost silent. The small vessel locked onto the Silver Wing's airlock with precision, and moments later, the inner doors slid open. A man stepped aboard. He looked human, completely human, but there was something in his eyes that made the crew pause. They were deep, like they had seen more years than his face suggested. He wore a simple gray flight suit with no markings, no weapons. Mara stepped forward. Identify yourself. My name is Kale, the man said. I am from Earth. I was sent to speak with you before it is too late. The ambassador, Relin, rushed into the docking bay, clearly annoyed. Finally, someone from Earth. You will explain why your planet has broken its treaties and shut itself off from the Empire. Kale did not even look at him. His eyes stayed on Mara. You need to leave. All of you. The gates are closed for a reason. What is coming cannot be stopped, only endured. Relin's voice rose. Nonsense. The Empire is prepared for any threat. Kale finally turned to him, his gaze sharp. No. You are prepared for the threats you understand. This is not one of them. Mara noticed the way Kale spoke, calm, steady, without anger, but with a weight behind every word. You're talking about the distortions, she said. Kale nodded. Yes, you call them distortions. We call them the first shadows. They are older than your empire, older than your worlds. When they arrive, they do not attack in ways you can fight. They change the space around them. They erase what they touch. They do not care about politics or territory. They care only about balance. Terran frowned. Balance. Kale's eyes darkened slightly. The galaxy has grown loud. Too many voices, too many hands pulling at the stars. The first shadows come when the noise grows too great. They quiet it. Relin looked ready to argue again, but Mara raised a hand to silence him. Why close the gates? To keep them from finding us, Kale said simply, or at least, to make it harder. Earth knows how to hide. We have done it before. Mara felt a chill at his words. This has happened before. Kale looked past her, toward the stars outside the viewing port. Long before your records, the last time, the galaxy was young. Civilizations you have never heard of vanished. Only a few remained. We were one of them. Relin's face twisted with disbelief. Stories? Myths? The Empire will face them. As we have faced every other threat. Kale's expression didn't change, but his voice grew quieter. And how many battles have you fought against something that does not even notice you are there? Mara broke the silence. If they're coming for the galaxy, why are you telling me this? Why not just keep hiding? Kale's gaze softened, just a little. Because there will be those who refuse to leave, and some of them may survive. If they are warned, You are one of the few captains who listens before acting. I am asking you to leave now. When the first shadows cross the system, the gates will not open again until it is safe. That could be years. Before Mara could ask more, Kale stepped back toward the airlock. Wait, she called after him. If the gates are shut, how did you get out? He stopped, glancing over his shoulder. Earth still remembers the old paths. Then he was gone. The small silver vessel detached from the silver wing and vanished the same way. It had arrived without a trace. On the bridge, Terran's voice was tense. Captain, the distortions are closer, much closer. The task force is moving into defensive positions. The open channel filled with Admiral Wren's commands as cruisers shifted their formations. Long-range scans showed the strange shapes bending the starlight as they approached. The first shadows, if that was truly what they were. Almost here. Mara stood at her command chair, feeling the weight of Kel's warning pressing against her thoughts. She didn't want to believe him, but deep inside, she knew his words were true. Below them, the planet remained silent. The golden gates were dark and unmoving, and somewhere, in the black distance of space, the first shapes began to pass into the system. The starship Aurora's light floated in the dark space near the moon. Inside, Captain Rian sat in the command chair, looking at the holographic display of the planet Earth. Its protective shield shimmered faintly, an invisible barrier. 2 outsiders. Behind him, the crew moved quickly between control panels, each step echoing in the silent tension of the command deck. Earth had refused every offer from the Galactic Empire for decades. They had no trade agreements, no military alliance, and no official contact. But the message that had arrived a week ago was something no one in the Empire expected. Earth had sent an invitation, but not to the Empire. It was addressed directly to Captain Rian's ship. Message repeat, said Mira, the ship's communications officer. Her voice was calm, but her eyes carried the same curiosity everyone else felt. She tapped the console, and the audio filled the room. This is the United Earth Council. Captain Rian, we request your presence in orbit for private discussion. No Empire representatives are to be present. Do not share this transmission. The words faded, leaving a silence heavier than before. Dr. Kellen, the ship's science officer, walked forward. This could be dangerous. The Empire will not be happy if they find out you are speaking to Earth without their approval. I know, Rian replied, but there's a reason they reached out to us specifically. We are going to find out what it is. The journey from the moon to low Earth orbit took only minutes. As they approached, the ship's sensors detected the surface in sharp detail, forests, oceans, cities glowing in the night. But the most impressive thing was the shield. It wasn't just a wall of energy. It was layered with patterns that changed like moving waves. It was alive, adapting. As if watching them, they are scanning us, Mira said quietly. Not just the ship, but Bus. They are looking into our personal histories. Rian nodded. Let them. We have nothing to hide. A clear channel opened. A voice spoke, warm but firm. Captain Rian. Prepare for boarding. Only you may come. Your crew will remain aboard. Minutes later, Rian stood inside a chamber that looked more like a living garden than a meeting room. Tall trees grew in spirals, their leaves glowing faintly in the filtered sunlight. A wide pool reflected the ceiling, where light seemed to ripple like water. 3 humans waited for him. The tallest, a woman with short dark hair and sharp eyes, stepped forward. I'm Counselor Arya. Thank you for accepting our call. Rian inclined his head politely. Your invitation was unexpected. Why me? Arya glanced at the others, then back at him. Because you are not like the Empire. You have defied their orders before. You have acted to save lives even when the Empire saw no value in them. We have been watching. Rian's brow furrowed. Watching? For how long? For longer than you might believe, Arya said. We monitor the movements of every Imperial ship that comes near our borders. Your choices told us something about your character. And now, we have a problem that requires someone we can trust. She gestured, and the pool in the center of the room shimmered, changing into a map of the galaxy. A red zone pulsed on the far edge. This is the Rift Sector, Arya explained. It is a region even the Empire avoids. Something there is waking, something that can cross the stars faster than light in ways no known ship can. It has already destroyed to unshielded worlds. Rian studied the projection. And you think the Empire is hiding this? Arya nodded. They know, but they will not warn the other worlds because it will make them look weak. If they cannot control the threat, they would rather ignore it. That is why we closed our gates long ago, because the Empire's greed blinds them to dangers they cannot control. Rian's mind worked quickly. If what she said was true, then the Empire's silence could doom hundreds of worlds. Why tell me? He asked. Because, Arya said, you are one of the few captains who can act without their command. We are giving you something no one else has, a signal code. It can pass through any shield, any jamming field. You can use it to warn others or to call for our help. But you must be careful. If the Empire learns you have it, they will see you as a threat. She held out a small silver sphere. It floated in the air between them, humming softly. This, she continued, is the gift of the signal. With it, you can reach us, and we can reach you, no matter where you are. Rian took it carefully, feeling its weight, not heavy, but full of meaning. When Rian returned to the Aurora's light, his crew immediately noticed the change in his expression. Mira stepped forward. What happened down there? He looked at her, then at the rest of the crew. We've been given a mission, a dangerous one, and a choice to act or to stay silent like the Empire. Dr. Kellen crossed his arms. If the Empire finds out, we could lose our ship. Maybe worse. Rian held up the small sphere. If we do nothing, we lose more than our ship. We lose the chance to stop something that could destroy worlds. The crew exchanged glances. One by one, they nodded. Mira smiled faintly. Then, we act, far away, on a hidden Imperial outpost. An officer stared at a data screen. Captain Rian's ship has entered direct contact with Earth. He was given something. We don't know what yet. The officer's superior turned slowly. Then find out. And if he intends to use it, make sure he never has the chance. The shadow of the Empire was moving. And in the deep black beyond the stars, the first tremor from the rift sector began to stir. Captain Mara sat quietly on the bridge of the Silver Wing, watching Earth turn slowly beneath the silent gates. The planet looked calm, almost peaceful, but Mara knew better now. She had learned that Earth was not just a normal world. It was a world of secrets and power, hidden behind those gates for a very good reason. Days earlier, Mara had found old files in the Empire archives, buried deep in forgotten folders. The files told a different story than the official history. They spoke of Earth as the first starfarer civilization, the ones who had first learned to travel between stars. They had taught many other species the secrets of space travel, but after a terrible war, Earth had vanished from the galaxy for centuries. The files showed ancient human fleets so fast and so advanced that no other race could match them. Entire enemy armadas had disappeared in battles with humans, sometimes without a single shot fired. The Empire had tried to erase those records. They called them myths or exaggerations. But now Mara believed them. Mara stood up and called Terran. Come. To the observation deck, she said quietly. Taren arrived moments later, his face serious. Mara pointed at the spinning planet below. The gates are not just a shield, she said. They are a seal. Something inside is being kept safe, or something is being kept out. Terran frowned. You think Earth is hiding more than just technology? Mara nodded. Yes, and whatever it is, it's why they closed the gates now. The human signal still played faintly in the background, but its tone had changed again. It was no longer calm or peaceful. Now, it was steady, strong. Like a heartbeat of the planet itself, it was a warning and a promise. Suddenly, the Silver Wing's sensors picked up a large movement beyond Earth's orbit. It was not a ship or a fleet, but a wave of energy spreading through space. It bent the light around it and twisted the stars in strange ways. Terran, Mara said, her voice low. What is that? We don't know, he answered. But it's getting closer. Whatever it is. It's powerful. The Empire's task force was on high alert. Admiral Ring contacted Mara. Captain, the energy wave is approaching fast. "We have weapons ready, but I am not sure they will be enough," Mara replied. "Earth has been preparing for this a long time. We should wait." And see, hours passed. The energy wave reached the gates and slowed. Then, as if the gates were alive, they began to glow softly. The golden arcs pulsed with light, shining brighter than Mara had ever seen. A deep voice echoed through the ship's speakers. Not from any person, but from the gates themselves. Earth calls to the stars. The ancient power wakes. Mara felt a shiver run down her spine. The gates were opening, but not to the Empire or its ships. They were opening to something else, something old and vast. The silver ship that had visited Mara before returned. This time, it was not alone. A fleet of human ships appeared, moving smoothly and silently through space. They were unlike any Empire design, sleek, fast, and glowing with a soft light. Kale, the messenger, appeared again on Mara's comm. "The first shadows are near. Earth's fleet will hold them back. But the galaxy must unite if it is to survive." Mara looked at her crew. The moment of truth was here. Earth was no longer a hidden world. It was a force to be reckoned with. The Empire's ships prepared for battle. But Mara knew this fight was not about conquest or control. It was about survival, and about a power the stars had never seen before. The stars above Earth shimmered with a new light as the golden gates opened fully. The ancient energy that had protected the planet for centuries now reached out like a beacon, calling the galaxy to witness a change it had never seen before. Captain Mara stood on the bridge of the Silver Wing, her eyes fixed on the fleet emerging from behind the gates. Ships of every size and shape moved with a grace that spoke of deep knowledge and power. They were Earth's fleet, ships built not for war, but for defense and survival. Admiral Wren's voice came through the comm, steady, but full of respect. "Captain, this is unlike anything we expected. The Empire's forces stand ready to follow your lead." Mara nodded. "Then we must act as one. The first shadows are coming, and Earth will not face them alone." The message from Earth had already spread across the galaxy. Worlds once distant and indifferent now sent their own ships to join the defense. Old rivalries were set aside, and for the first time in generations, the stars united under a common purpose. Kale appeared again on Mara's screen, his face calm but determined. "The first shadows do not seek to conquer. They seek balance. They erase what disrupts harmony. We fight not for power, but for the right to exist." Mara felt the weight of those words. The galaxy was fragile, and this threat was unlike any before. But humanity had faced darkness before and had survived. Now, they led the fight to save all life. The first shadows moved through space like a silent storm. Their presence bent light and time, making weapons seem useless. But the Earth fleet responded with something new: energy shields. That could bend the shadows' power, weapons that fired pulses of pure light. The battle was fierce but brief. The galaxy's defenders pushed the first shadows back step by step. As the fight reached its peak, Mara saw something unexpected: ships from distant worlds, inspired by Earth, daring to join the fight for the first time. After hours of struggle, the first shadows began to retreat. Their shapes faded like mist in the morning sun. The gates above Earth glowed with a soft light once more, a sign of victory, but also a warning. Kel's voice returned, filled with hope. "This is only the beginning. The galaxy must learn to live with the balance. Earth will guide the way." The Emperor's Council, watching from afar, sent a message of peace and cooperation. The Empire had learned a hard lesson: strength came not from control, but from unity. Captain Mara looked at the stars and smiled. Earth had shut its gates to protect itself, but now it had opened them to protect the galaxy. The stars quaked, not from fear, but from hope.